really exciting. And by the way, did Michael Paris not absolutely preach an incredible message? Wow. It was really encouraging to me, frankly, to be able to say, wow, I mean, I can be away. Pastor Brady was away because of Ezra. And I mean, you guys didn't miss a beat. You kept right on going. And so that is just awesome. But I just want to thank our staff, and especially Michael and Pastor Mikey for just carrying all that last weekend. But I'm telling you, Michael, oh my goodness, the boy, he's going to make a great pastor someday. You watch and see. And so I'm excited about that. And he just did an incredible job. Kind of hard to follow that if you want to know the truth. I was sitting there going, oh my goodness, I got to preach next week. And so it was really good to see all that. And just in case you haven't, I've been on Facebook and seen any of the pictures, I wanted to share with you this morning the picture of Mr. Ezra Brady. And he is, honest to goodness, he's like Mr. Perfect. I mean, he is, he's really a cute little baby, and congratulations to Pastor Brady and Ashley on the birth of Ezra. He'll be here soon, and we're looking forward to meeting him in person. If you haven't already, you will. And it is just great. It's kind of neat. I was looking back. Pastor Don Hurlbert, most of you won't know Don and Gail, but Don and Gail were pastors here. I forget the years. It's been a while. And but they had a little baby born while they were pastors here. And then I think the next pastoral family to have a baby was me and Sharon. Callie was born while I was pastor here. And now Ezra brings that up. And so it's always neat to have, for me, just forgive me for being a little selfish, it's always neat to have babies born in the pastoral family. It's just neat to see those, and really, really excited for Brady and Ashley. And they're just, what a sweet kid. He is, I've yet to see his eyeballs. Every time I see him, he won't open his eyes. But I'll probably see more of his eyeballs and hear more of his screams than I want to before it's done. So, but that's okay. Every summer, I like to do a series. It's kind of an expository type sermon series, typically. And I'll usually pick some kind of Old Testament character or theme. And so, for the next few weeks, I think at least the next 3, maybe longer, we'll see. I want us to go and we're going to look at a book in the Old Testament written by the prophet, focuses on the prophet, and it's the book of Haggai, or Haggai, however you say that. To be honest, you may have read Haggai before in your life, because if you were like me, and sometimes when you felt like as a teenager or something, and you felt like really guilty, and you're like, I need to read more of the Bible, go read, I'm just going to tell you, go read the book of Haggai. Go read it, because you can step back and go, man, I read an entire book of the Bible. It's only 2 chapters. It's one of the shortest books in the Bible. So it's like, man, I've been reading. In fact, this week I read a whole book. Yeah, it's 2 chapters, but nonetheless, and it's an incredible book. In fact, if you need some pointers on books to read in the Bible, Haggai, Jude, 2 John, 3 John, those are great books to read. Because honestly, you can probably read the entire book in like 10 minutes. And so, then you can say, listen, last week I read 4 whole books out of the Bible. I'm so holy. Haggai is one of those great books. And so we're going to look at that. And I cannot tell you how excited I am about sharing this, because I believe there's some incredible truth that's going to be in here. I just had a birthday almost a month ago now. And I don't know about you, but I honestly thought that by now in my life, I would be further down the road in some areas than I am. I was going to, be in a different place than where I imagined myself to be. And as I look back at 56 years old, I ask myself, where in the world did the time go? Some of you relate to this very well. You look back and you're like, some of you have kids that are graduating high school this week, right, Terry? And it's like, no, wait a minute. There's no way that my kids are getting ready to graduate from high school. That's impossible. They were born 2 months ago, it feels like. And honestly, those feelings of where in the world did the time go and I thought I would be in a different place can be a bit, at least at times for me, they can be a bit unsettling. They can cause us to ask ourselves, wait a minute, where are my priorities? What am I doing? How does this work? Where does this fit? And we can look at life and begin to question, what is it exactly that's happening here? We had all these dreams, and I said a couple months ago now, and I made this statement, and it's just been one of those things that has stuck in my own head, something that I said, and it's this: dreams without a plan are just a dream. But when we begin to make a plan, when we begin to say, okay, this is where I want to be, and we begin to make a plan, then a plan helps us to overcome the obstacles. Suddenly the obstacles get a little smaller because now I've got a plan on how I'm going to go and where I'm going to go. The problem with most of us is our plans are too short. And we make a plan and we want to go from here to there in like a week, I want to fix this. If I need to lose weight, I've got to lose it all this month. Or, maybe I'd preferably like to lose it all in the next 2 weeks. Or however, our plans become really short. And suddenly we can ask ourselves, where did the time go and how does this work? And by the way, I'm 56 years old. Age doesn't define this feeling. Some of you just finished college, or you just graduated from high school, and you're like, man, I thought I would have all this figured out by now, or I thought I would have a better plan in place by now, or I just finished college and I still don't have a clue, what I want to do with my life. I thought that by now, I thought by now I would be married, I'd have my 2.6 kids, and I'd live in the little house with the white picket fence, and everything's just hunky-dory glorified. It's just everything's great, right? And we look at life and we're like, oh goodness, how did we get into this mess? How did we find ourselves here? How is this? Because truthfully, and I'm not being critical, I'm in the wagon with you. Most people are living paycheck to paycheck in a marriage that has its struggles at times. In fact, there's some people that live in marriages that they don't even like, or maybe they're not married at all, and you thought, you know what? Here's what we need to do. We need to have some kids that'll fix everything. And kids are going to fill this void, this need that I have in my life. And so we had kids, and now you're just tired and super cranky and busy and broke. And you're thinking, surely there must be more to life than this. Don't misunderstand me, but it scares me at times. Because some people say, well, you know what, I'm going to try the religion thing. I just need to go to church and I need to try the religion thing. And it's not religion that's bad, but religion without a relationship is just an activity. Amen. Until God begins to change us. You're with me this morning, right? I don't care what age you are, whether you're a teenager or whether you're old like me. It's funny, I was at the beach, and earlier Sharon and I have been to the beach in quite a while, and I said to somebody, I was explaining it to him, I said, it's a really neat time to go to the beach. We stayed at Ocean Lakes, we take a camper, and I said, at this time of the year, the only people that are there are old people or people with really young kids that aren't at school. And they looked at me and said, yeah, you're one of the old people. And I'm like, no, they're all way older than me. I'm not in that category yet. They probably feel the same way. And this is the setting for this book of Haggai. I really thought I would be in a different place by now. I really thought by now things would be different. So let me just set this up. I need to set this up in order for this to make sense today. I need to set this book up. In order to do that, I want to just go with me. Just take a mental movie here for a moment and go back with me to the time of King Solomon. Splendor, oh my goodness, riches, wisdom, Solomon. Man, just the dude. I mean, he is the man. And everybody is impressed with Solomon. And Solomon, who was the son of King David, builds this incredible temple to worship God. Moses, when he was in the wilderness, they built the tabernacle, they built the Ark of the Covenant. It's where the presence of God dwelt. And so now they bring all of that forward, all the way to Solomon. And Solomon builds, and if you go back and you read the stories of how Solomon built this temple, how everything was overlaid in gold, and how everything is these precious stones, and all this stuff, amazing. In fact, people literally came from all over the world just to see this temple. I mean, it became not only a place of worship, it became like this place where it became like something people came to visit. It became a tourist stop, if you want to call it that. And inside this temple was the Ark of the Covenant. The presence of God was there. Only the priest could go in. You know all those stories. The finest. And people came and they worshiped God. In fact, I love the story of when Solomon gets ready to dedicate this temple. They go out and they recruit these people to play instruments. They have a worship band. And they go out and they recruit all these people as singers. And they practice and they prepare. And they come together on the day of the dedication. And the presence of God, this is incredible. The presence of God so fell on this temple. The presence of God was so real in this temple that nobody could set foot in the temple for 3 days. For 3 days, you couldn't even walk into the temple. The presence of God was so strong. It was an incredible place of worship. But you know what? Time has a way of changing things. And after Solomon dies, his children and the generations that begin to follow after them, the people's heart, that place of worship, that temple, suddenly lost something. And the people's hearts turned away from God. They got distracted. In fact, the people of Israel, God's people, started to worship other gods. In fact, they were bringing forms of worship into this temple where the presence of God was so incredible that you couldn't even enter it for 3 days. People were bringing other forms of worship into that very same temple. It was an amazing turn of people turning their backs on God. So we jump forward into the year 587 BC. And this guy from Babylon named King Nebuchadnezzar comes into Jerusalem and he crushes the city of Jerusalem, the whole entire nation of Judah. He comes in and he crushes the city and he destroys the temple of Solomon. He destroys it. He burns the city of Jerusalem to the ground. And he gathers up all the people and he takes them back to Babylon. But get this, he did more than make them slaves, because for the people of Israel, this temple, this place of worship, this God-centered worship was their spiritual identity. It's what made them who they were. And so when Nebuchadnezzar came in, not only did he make them slaves, not only did he take them captive, but he destroyed their spiritual identity. He wiped Solomon's temple off the map, burned it down, ransacked all the gold out of it, and burned it to the ground. And for the next 50 years, they were slaves in Babylon. 50 years. I was struggling with this week, and so I'm not sure that we have context for this. Let me see if I can change this. Again, just pause one movie and go watch another one. Let's say some major country. So let's say some country somewhere. I don't want to name one for fear I might be right. Develops some kind of a nuclear arsenal.
States of America. I almost didn't write this because it's just too scary. It could almost be true. They say to the United States of America, if you don't surrender to us, we're going to take out 5 of your major cities in a nuclear attack. And not only are we going to attack you, but we're going to take out 10 cities of your allies until you surrender. So our president and our Congress meet and they gather together and they think, wow, we're in a position where we can't retaliate. Because if we retaliate, if we shoot our nukes at them, they're going to shoot their nukes at us, and we're basically just going to create a nuclear holocaust. And not only are we going to destroy ourselves, but we're going to destroy all of our allies, and this is going to start this global nuclear war. The only thing that we can do is surrender. And all of our government leaders step down. I'm sorry, this is where it really, I don't know that we can even imagine this. But what if all of our government leaders stepped down? Congress closed its doors. The halls of Congress began to gather dust. And suddenly we are no longer citizens of the United States of America, but we become the subjects of another country. We answer to someone else's rules. Suddenly we can't worship as we want. This morning you got up, I got up, we didn't think anything about it. We could come to church. What if somebody said you can't, all religious activities are canceled and you can no longer worship? To do so will be in opposition to the government and you're subject to arrest and death. Wow, are you kidding me? Well, that'll never happen in my country. I have a feeling that on the day when Solomon dedicated the temple, and the power of God is so powerful in this place, that those people probably said the same thing. We can't go where we want. And for the next 50 years, that would be like, I would have been in bondage. I would have been a slave for the majority of my life. My children would have known nothing but bondage. Bondage would be normal for them. Being a subject of someone else would be normal life for my children at this point. They don't know. They would be living in a nightmare, but they don't know anything different from the nightmare. The nightmare is normal. And so for 50 years, King Nebuchadnezzar takes these people of Judah, takes them to Babylon, and for the next 50 years, they are slaves in Babylon. But we read in the book of Ezra, you can go back and you can read this if you like. In the book of Ezra, in the year 538 BC, the kings have changed. King Nebuchadnezzar is no longer on the throne in Babylon. King Cyrus is. And through the merciful hand of God, he comes together and he brings these men and women together of Israel, and he allows 50,000 of them to return back to Jerusalem with the instructions that they are to go back, and they are allowed to go back and rebuild the temple of Solomon. Now I'm telling you, you can go back and look at history here. They don't rebuild the temple anything like Solomon had it, but they go back, and I'll get to that story in a second. And so they go back. This 50,000 people leave Babylon. 50,000 leave Babylon, no longer living under the rule of the Babylonian Empire. And they go back to Jerusalem, and they begin to build the temple. And they set the foundation. The first thing they do is they set the foundation of the walls, and then the next thing that they do is they repair the altar. Love this. They begin to repair the altar. A place where they can begin to cry out to God. And then after they got the foundation dug and set, and they got the altar repaired, they had this huge celebration about what God was doing. God is restoring our spiritual identity. But then the Samaritans show up. And suddenly the Samaritans begin to attack them. And they begin to create conflict in their life. And suddenly, this is amazing, these 50,000 Jewish people that have returned from Babylon back to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple, these 50,000 people are like, no! This is too hard. This was supposed to be easy. This was supposed to be this celebration. Man, we were slaves. Now we're back in Jerusalem. We've been given, not only have we been given instructions, by the way, but King Cyrus sent with us materials to help us rebuild the temple. I mean, not only did he send us to do it, he's supplying us with the resources to do it. This is supposed to be easy. This is supposed to be good. But man, now the Samaritans are attacking us, and we're having to defend ourselves, and we're going through all this trouble. This just got too hard. This got too difficult. They must have looked around, 50,000 of them. I don't know who was in charge, but they looked around and they began to say, this is too hard. This must not be the right time. Because this would be easy for us if it was. And it's not. And they stopped. They stopped work on the temple. And so for 14 years, nothing happened. There was no shovels of dirt being turned in the temple. There was no stones being laid. There was no walls being built. There was 14 years. It sat vacant. They put the project on hold. And instead of working on God's house, you know what they did? They started working on their house. Well, I mean, we're going to need a place to live. So I tell you what, we'll just put the temple on hold. Let's go build our house. And so they began to build themselves houses. And they actually built some pretty nice houses. I mean, they had resources, they had materials, and so they began to build themselves houses. And they forgot about God's house. It was probably difficult the first 6 months or maybe the first year, but after that 5-year mark, they probably could walk by the site of the temple and never even think about it because they were so focused on doing their stuff that they completely forgot about God's stuff. So what did God do? He raised up this prophet named Haggai. And he raised Haggai up to call the people out of this 14-year lull to say it's time to get back to work. The time is now. And that's what Haggai is about. So let's dive in this morning. Verse 2, I'm going to jump right in. You can read along with me. It'll be on the screen, but if you got your Bible, I'm actually reading out of the New Living, out of the NIV this morning. Verse 2, this is what the Lord Almighty says. These people say, the time has not yet come to rebuild the Lord's house. And just a quick note here. Usually, especially in the Old Testament, when God talks about the people of Israel, God refers to them as my people. These are my people. But it's interesting in Haggai, when the Lord begins to speak to Haggai the prophet, he says, these people. You never want to be on the these people side of God, just say it. You know, I don't know how many of you, have you ever, your wife ever, you walked through the door and your wife said, your son, your daughter. Anybody with me? Yeah. I want to stop and say, I really thought that this was a us thing, not a me thing, but nonetheless, Lord says to Haggai, he said, these people are saying that the time is not now. And there is an implied here, if you'll allow me a little bit of leeway, there is an implied God saying, but they're wrong. The time is now. On the front of your bulletin, there's a place, you actually have bulletins today. That's amazing. On the front of your bulletin, there's a place for you to follow along and write down some notes. And I want you to write this down because I want to just be able to come back to it. You ready? Choose the hard right over the easy wrong. Choose the hard right over the easy wrong. So here you got these people of Israel. They've been sent back to rebuild the temple, but everything was going so great. Everything was wonderful. And now the Samaritans are opposing them, and it's like, whoa, stop! This is hard. This is difficult. And so they quit. For 14 years they quit. And you want to go, I can't. How can you miss God like that? What is wrong with these people? You better be careful what you say because you and I do the exact same thing. When things get hard, when things get difficult, it's like, well, maybe this must not be God's will for my life because this is just too hard. Because if it was God's will, it would just be easy. It's not true, church, and we know that. Amen? I mean, anybody else ever experienced that besides me? Scared to say. Seriously. Because we're thinking, I just must have heard God wrong. That's what it was. I heard God wrong. There's a truth here that I want you to hear. It's something we need to understand. The closer that we get to doing something that matters to the heart of God, the more likely we are to face opposition. Let me say that one more time. The closer we get to doing something that matters to the heart of God, the more likely we are to face opposition. Oh, we can talk about it in the church room. We say, wow, God's really moving our church. And somebody inevitably will say, well, Satan's going to be fighting. Yeah, he will. Why? Because when the church is moving and when God's people are being stirred and revival is happening, you can bet Satan opposes that and he will rise up in opposition to that. If it's true in the church, it's true in your house. It's true in your life. It's true in your work. All of those things. The closer we get to doing something that matters to the heart of God, the more likely we are to face opposition. So there's a truth here that I want you to, maybe there's a spot you can find it, write it down. Receiving opposition is not a sign that God is against us. Sometimes choosing the hard right is difficult. Most of the time, when we're facing opposition, it's a sign that we are doing the right thing and that Satan is opposing us. Because when we step out and start doing the right thing, there is spiritual opposition because Satan doesn't want to see you grow in your faith. Satan doesn't want to see you grow in your relationship with Him. Satan doesn't want to see you get closer to God. And so he will put all kinds of circumstances and stuff into your life that says, no, make this hard, make this difficult. But we have to learn to choose the hard right over the easy wrong. I don't know about you, but all the time, I need to step back and say, God, would you help me? Because the easy wrong is just that, easy. It almost feels natural. It almost feels right. Choose the hard right over the easy wrong. God, would you help me? Would you empower me? Would you enable me? Because when we're going through those times, listen to me, church, when we're going through those times of opposition, just like the people of Israel, listen to what they did. When we're going through those times of opposition, it's really easy to stop focusing on God and start focusing on myself and saying, this is about me. I need to make sure I take care of me. I mean, I've heard this, you've heard it, maybe focusing on ourselves. And during those times, we have to choose the hard right over the easy wrong. Somebody hurts your feelings. It's easy to hold a grudge. It's easy to be angry. But the hard right is to forgive. Because Jesus said, forgive others as I have forgiven you. And I've been struggling with money, maybe. It's easy to keep spending money we don't have. We can worry about those credit cards later. But the hard right is to find help. To talk to someone who can give us some assistance to start living within our means. The hard right over the easy wrong. I need to transition just a hair. And I need you to stop right here with me for a second. I don't know. I'm not. I just want you to hear my heart. I felt really strongly about this. Choose the hard right over the easy wrong. I want to ask you a question. Is there some unfinished assignments in your life? I'm not, for kids that are finishing up school, I'm not talking about those kind of assignments. It could have been yesterday, or last month, or 14 years ago. God put something on your heart. But you were afraid. And it got hard. And it wasn't easy. And I'm going to ask you to do something together with me today. I want you to almost change the way you hear this message. And I want us to listen to this message, this word from the Lord this morning, through that lens. God lays something on the heart. There's some things that I know. There were some things that I know was right. And I started out doing right. But somewhere it got too hard. Somewhere it got too difficult. And my focus changed. My focus changed on choosing the hard right, and I chose the easy wrong. We might have justified it by saying, I did this for my family, or I did this for me. Is there some unfinished business? Let me just lay that out there. Let me lay that as a lens to listen to this through. Let's go to the Word. I got to hurry this morning. We'll be here for all day. This is the word of the Lord, reading on in Haggai. Then the word of the Lord came to the prophet Haggai. Is it a time for you yourselves to be living in your paneled houses, while this house remains a ruin? Now this is what the Lord Almighty says. Give careful thought to your ways. Listen to this. Guys, listen to this. You have planted much, but harvested little. You eat, but never have enough. You drink, but never have your fill. You put on clothes, but are not warm. We can all say amen to this. You earn wages, only to put them in a purse with holes in it. God says, Haggai, 14 years after God had laid something on their heart, after God had given them this direction, 14 years later, Haggai comes and he calls them out. He's like, hey, you're building these nice, fancy houses for you. That's not what God called you to do. And God's house is lying in ruins. That's what God sent you down here to do. That's your purpose. That's your why. I mean, this is in our days technology, I mean, this is the big TV, granite countertops, crown molding, fancy house. By the way, God is not against us having nice stuff. That's not what I'm saying this morning. He just doesn't want the nice stuff to have us. See, these people are putting their comfort, their own selfish needs ahead of God's calling. Are you trying to make a name more than you are trying to make a difference? This is about me. Are you putting your house before God's house? Are you consumed with yourself instead of being consumed with God and showing His love to other people? God says it. He said it through Haggai. Give careful thought to your ways. Consider what you're doing. Choose the hard right over the easy wrong. You know what you need to do? My question is to you and I this morning, people of your God. The time is now. See, that's what they've been saying. Well, timing's just not right. You know it's easy for the timing to not be right when I'm so consumed with what I'm doing. It's easy for the timing not to be right when I'm busy with all my stuff. I mean, to be honest, you and I know this in today's economy, time is more valuable than money. And it's easy for us to become so focused on ourselves that no, the timing can't be right. And Haggai stands up in the midst of the people. So who do you think you are living in these nice, fine paneled houses? The time is now. Choose the hard right. I mean, again, I kind of rewrote that verse. It would go something like this in our world. You work your tail off. You still don't feel like you have anything. You're pouring your life into some career and it just feels empty and hollow. You have more than you've ever had before and you still don't feel satisfied. You entertain yourself. You go to games. You go to movies. You go out to eat. Yet there's still this longing for more. How's that working out for you? Your pockets have holes in them. Maybe you're sitting here this morning and going, wow. I remember when God put that purpose in my life, that call on my life, that why in my life. I remember how excited and invigorated and energized I was, but then it got hard and then it got difficult. And how do I change this? How do I change this? I have a feeling that's exactly what the people of Israel, well, where do we start? What do we do? How do we fix this? How do we turn this around? This has gone too far. 14 years is a long time. This is too difficult. Haggai, I love this, so just get ready. I'm going to say it about 50 times. I got super excited about this. Haggai says in verse 7 and 8, he says this. He says, this is what the Lord Almighty says. Give careful thought to your ways. Go up into the mountains and break down timber and build my house, so that I may take pleasure in it and be honored, says the Lord. What am I supposed to do, Pastor? Well, how do I turn this around? I feel like there's some unfinished business in my life. I know where God was leading me. I know how God was calling me. And then, at one time, I was digging in. We were laying foundation. We were repairing altars. We were getting on with it. But something in my life just stopped. And my focus shifted. And my focus changed. And I turned, go up to the mountain, break down timber, and timber and build my house. But there's got to be more. Go up to the mountain and bring down timber and build my house. You with me this morning?
Yes.
So there's a second point on your bulletin this morning. And simply this, the way to get started. The way to get started is to quit talking and start doing. The way to get started is to quit talking and start doing. Because I want to tell you how we are. I'm going to tell you how Richard Hall is. I'm going to tell you how you are too, because I know you. I'm going to throw you right under the bus with me. God says, I got 3 steps for you. Have you got them yet? Go up to the mountain. That's going to take some effort, by the way. You notice, we've been saying, well, which mountain? What kind of timber do we need to break down? What trees do you think would be? Go up to the mountain and bring down timber and build my house. It's as simple as that. But God, wait a second. If we do that, so that's steps 1 through 3. God, I need to know steps 4 through 6. I need to know the details. I mean, how long is this going to take me? How's this going to work? What's the plan? I mean, am I going to get a tax write-off for this? I mean, if I do this, am I going to get to put my name on the side of the temple that says Richard was here? Because if I can put my name on the side of the temple saying I did, I'm not even sure that I want to go through the effort. God is just like saying, don't worry about steps 4 through 6. Go up to the mountain, bring down timber, and build my house. People that are focused on me instead of our focus on God. We want to know all the steps. We want to know how it works out. We want to know, listen, there's some of you here this morning that just need to stay. Hold on a second. I need to go to the mountain. I need to go to the mountain. And I need to bring back some timber because I need a house. I got a house that I need to start building. What kind of house? I don't know. Where you get? I don't know. I just know I need to go to the mountain. And on the mountain there's timber. And I'm going to bring it back and I'm going to build a house. You know, the truth is, God will show us steps 4 through 6 when He's ready. God will show us steps 4 through 6 when it's His time. Seriously, sometimes we just need to start doing what God has called us to do. Sometimes it means we need to go back and say, God, I know at this point in my life, man, this was the track that I was on, and this is what I was so excited about, and this is where I'm going. And God, I kind of got off track. I got distracted. It got hard. It got difficult. It got very distracting. I love what Galatians says. Those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. Since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit. Here's what I need to say to you this morning. You and I can't imagine the blessings, though, of the other side of obedience. You see, sometimes we're like, man, I got this super nice house, and I got to take care of me. Man, I got this. We don't even begin to understand the blessings that God has for us when we walk in obedience. And by the way, you say, but if I go back and I start doing what God has called me to do, if I start fulfilling my purpose. By the way, I'm preaching to me and you this morning. This is absolutely true of church. If I go back, how do I know that's going to work out? Obedience is my responsibility. Outcome is God's. Maybe there's some sin that's plaguing you. And the secret is eating you up inside. Do you choose the hard right or the easy wrong? So the hard right is to confess that sin and expose it to the light of grace. Maybe you're playing fake happy marriage. It's easy to do that. It's a hard right to go to a trusted friend or a trusted company and say, help, I need help. Maybe there was a calling in your life and a direction in your life. It's easy to say, well, but my circumstances changed. And, it just got really hard and my time got less. And, these people say, the time has not yet come. It's hard right to say the time is now. Jesus is saying to you and I this morning, the time is now. Go up to the mountain. Bring down timber. Build my house. Go up to the mountain. Bring down timber. Build my house. Where else? Go up to the mountain. We want to make this way harder than it is. We want to create all of these scenarios and situations and say, oh, it's got it. God, you're going to hear this in a couple weeks. But I can't wait, so I got to tell you now. Reading through the book of Haggai, read the whole book. Read the book of Haggai. Haggai chapter 2, verse 19. I had one of those moments. You got to hear this one. Listen to what the word says. You're looking at it. He said, I am giving you a promise now, while the seed is still in the barn. I didn't put all that on your screen, but listen to what it says. You have not yet harvested your grain and your grapevines, fig trees, pomegranates, and olive trees. They have not yet produced their crops. You see, all that seed is still in the barn. But from this day onward, I will bless you. Guys, God is saying to me and you this morning, some of us have lost focus. Some of us, we're focused on the wrong thing. And God is saying, stop. Go up to the mountain. Bring down timber. Build my house. And he's promising. Haggai goes on to say in the same address to the people of Israel, he says, before you even go to the mountain, before you even do what God has already promised to be there to bless you, while the seed is still in the barn, I'm giving you a promise. Would you bow your heads with me this morning? There's a connection card that was there on your seat when you walked in. I hope you've already filled that out partially. I need to just give you an opportunity to respond this morning. One is already done. This altar is open to say, God, change my focus. Change my focus. Maybe the Lord is speaking specifically to you about something in your life. You don't have to tell me about it, but I think you do need to talk to God about it. How did you come? I know we're a moment late. Just bear with me for just a moment.
Lord, right now I pray, Lord, not only do I pray, Lord, for those that are here at this altar, but God, I pray, Lord, for all of us. God, we are in a place where it's so easy for us to get our focus on the wrong things, and it becomes more about us than it becomes more about our house than it does about your house. It becomes more about our needs, our greed, our desires. Not today, God. Not today. Today we're headed for the mountain with an axe and saw in hand. Today we're bringing back timber. Today we start building your house. Today is a turning day. In the lives of your people. 50,000. And just a little opposition causes us to lose our focus. Oh Lord Jesus, would you come this morning? Speak into our life and into our heart. I can't preach any more than that, God. You have to speak to us in only the way that you can. In Jesus' name we pray these things together this morning. Amen. Amen. God bless you, church. You're dismissed. May the Lord bless you today. Don't forget to leave your connection cards and tithes and offerings in the basket as you leave this morning. Thank you so much.